Welcome back, night wanderers, to another quiet gathering here on Dusk and Dreams. And for my new listeners, welcome. It's nice to meet you. I'm Yarrow, your companion through the stillness, reflection, and mystery of the night. In our last show, we followed strange, glowing orbs across fields and forests in our Ghost Lights episode. That was a night of shadows and curiosity, of wondering what might hover just beyond the edge of sight. Tonight, we turn inward. Tonight is gentler, steadier, because just as ghost stories and folklore are enduring traditions for campfire nights, humanity had another way of greeting the night: ritual. Whether it was a whispered prayer at the hearth, a song lifted toward the stars, or a small, repeated gesture before lying down to rest. Ritual was the thread that carried us safely across the threshold between day and night, from noise to silence, from work to rest. So tonight, in the warmth of our lakeside cabin, fire before us, water outside our window, let's explore how cultures across the world welcomed and guarded the night, and how you might craft your own ritual to carry you through the darkness with calm, clarity, or even a profound sense of awe. Since the beginning, humans have marked the setting of the sun with something intentional: a pause, a gesture, a ritual. These nightly rituals are some of the oldest human inheritances we carry, and they weren't just about comfort. They were about survival, meaning, and connection. Let's linger with a few and explore our ancestral roots. In ancient Rome, every household honored the Lares, guardian spirits of the home and family. These weren't lofty gods, distant in the heavens. They were intimate protectors, thought to linger right there in your kitchen or courtyard. As dusk fell, it was common for a paterfamilias, the head of the household, to step to the household shrine, the lararium. He'd pour a small libation of wine or oil into the flame, perhaps with a whispered prayer. Children watched carefully, sometimes given the task of offering a morsel of bread or a pinch of salt. The message was simple: our home is safe, our ancestors are honored, and we may rest. The ritual might have lasted only minutes, but repetition gave it profound gravity. In a world without locks, where disease and invaders could strike at any moment, this small gesture was a way of creating invisible walls of safety. And neuroscience affirms what the Romans knew intuitively: predictable evening rituals, lower stress hormones like cortisol, and anchor the nervous system in familiarity. Now imagine the quiet elegance of Japan. Though the tea ceremony, chanoyu, is often performed during the day, its philosophy of intentional stillness deeply influenced evening practices too. The act of preparing tea was not about caffeine or refreshment. It was about creating a liminal space where every sound, every gesture, every sip was a form of meditation. A story is told of Sen no Rikyu, the great tea master of the 16th century. When asked what the essence of tea ceremony was, he said, "Boil water, make tea, drink." But of course, it was never that simple. Each evening gathering carried layers of symbolism: the cleansing of the hands and mouth, the silent bow before entering the tea room, the deliberate slowing of movements. For some samurai, this ritual tea before nightfall was the only time they allowed their armor, both literal and emotional, to come off. For modern listeners, imagine the brain science here. The ritual slowed the sympathetic fight or flight response, gently engaging the parasympathetic calm. In other words, every graceful motion was an ancient biohack for sleep. And then, picture the Sahara, vast dunes stretching endlessly beneath a glittering night sky. For nomadic peoples, firelight after dusk was not just warmth, but a fortress. Children and elders gathered close while the desert winds howled just beyond the circle of light. Stories were shared, not just for entertainment, but as lifelines. A tale about a fox tricking a lion wasn't just a fable. It was coded wisdom. Know your enemies, but never underestimate the power of wit over brute force. One traveler recorded that among the Tuareg, when a child asked why the stories were always told at night, an elder replied, "Because in the day our bodies are busy, at night our souls must be fed." The act of gathering itself was a ritual of survival. Fires kept predators at bay, the rhythm of voices calmed anxieties, and the repetition of tales linked one generation to the next. Sleep science of today again echoes this truth. Storytelling before bed helps encode memory, regulate emotional states, and strengthen group bonds. It is not only culture, it is biology woven into the night. From a neuroscience lens, all of these practices share something profound. They signal safety. A repeated ritual lowers cortisol, stabilizes heart rate, and gives the nervous system the permission it craves to release. Ritual is not superstition. It is biology woven into culture. It tells the body, you are safe to let go. However, not every night is a quiet transition. For many cultures, darkness was not just an invitation to rest. It was a profound and dangerous space. And while night has always been beautiful, it has also always been risky. Darkness conceals predators, malevolent spirits, and dangers both real and imagined. So across cultures, rituals emerged, not just to soothe the mind, but to guard the home, to shield the family, to say with absolute certainty, this space is safe and the night cannot take us. High in the Andes, shepherds and travelers often made small evening offerings before sleep. Coca leaves, revered as sacred gifts from Pachamama, Mother Earth, were pressed between fingers and sprinkled into the fire or onto the ground. They believed the Apus, mountain spirits, watched over them. By giving a part of their own energy back through coca, they were showing deep respect and asking for divine protection during the long, perilous night. Picture it, a herder, cloak wrapped tight against the thin mountain air, pauses before bedding down. He murmurs a few words into the wind, chews a handful of coca to steady his body, then tosses 3 perfect leaves toward the stars. To him, this simple act meant the difference between waking to his flock or being visited by restless spirits of the peaks. Modern neuroscience might call this basic symbolic anchoring, a tangible action to shift the mind from hypervigilance into trust. But for the Andean peoples, it was far more. It was a contract between human and mountain. I see you. Protect me tonight. And traveling north into the cold, windswept forests of Scandinavia, there we find the Norse, who held a deep respect and a deep fear for what moved in the night. They believed trolls, elves, and wandering spirits prowled after sundown. And so, they turned to iron, a blade placed under the bed, a nail hammered above the door, even shears tucked beneath a newborn's pillow. Iron wasn't just a metal. It was a force, hard, unyielding, forged in fire. It was believed to cut through the magic of the Holdu folk, the hidden people, who might steal away the vulnerable or twist dreams into nightmares. Imagine a longhouse on a deep winter's night, storm winds rattling the wooden beams. Children huddle beneath thick furs. Before sleep, the mother quietly lays a pair of iron scissors crossed under the cradle. She doesn't explain, because she doesn't need to. Everyone knows. The night respects iron. Even today, fragments of this ritual linger. Many still hang horseshoes above doors, a quiet echo of iron's protective lore. Contrast this to Africa, where across many parts of the lands, sound itself became the protector. Drums, rattles, chants, vibrations that drove away the unseen. Among the Yoruba, night was when spirits walked closest. Protective drumming called on Orisha for guidance and warded off wandering forces. The beat was more than music. It was boundary. Picture a village after sunset. Torches flicker, the sky ink dark above. At the edge of the settlement, a group of drummers begins a steady, rhythmic pulse. The sound travels out into the night like a living, resonant wall. Children fall asleep to its pulse. Elders nod by the fire. The message is clear. This is our circle. This is our home. No harm may enter. From a scientific view, those rhythms did more than just scare spirits. They regulated breathing, slowed heart rates, and created communal safety through synchrony. Everyone listening, bodies, brains, nervous systems, aligned to the same protective beat. You see, these rituals were doing what the human brain has always longed for. They created predictability in the unpredictable. In a time when the dark was truly a place of predators, spirits, or invaders, ritual gave both body and community a sense of control. Nights are powerful times. They aren't only about survival or sleep. They're also about vision. And for as long as humans have gazed into the darkness, we've asked, what waits for us in dreams? And more importantly, can we shape what comes? In ancient Greece, for example, preparing for dreaming wasn't just a private ritual. It was an institutional practice. Across the Mediterranean stood temples dedicated to Asclepius, god of healing. These were not mere places of worship. They were sanctuaries of sleep. A seeker would arrive weary, perhaps carrying an illness of body or a heaviness of spirit. Before they could step inside the sacred hall, they were prepared, a ritual bath to cleanse the body, a fasting period to sharpen the senses, offerings at the altar, cakes, honey, or simple prayers. The rich scents of incense, kifi, and resins filled the air, curling into the rafters. And then came the true heart of the ritual, sleep. The seeker lay down on a pallet within the temple, often surrounded by others, also hoping for a dream. And as we've talked about before, through the night, snakes sacred to Asclepius slithered across the cool stone floor, living symbols of renewal and transformation. And the dream that came, whether terrifying, cryptic, or soothing, it was seen not as random, but as a prescription. Priests, trained as interpreters, would help decode the imagery into guidance. Which herb to take, what habit to change, what offering to make. The dream itself was the medicine. Imagine Lying there on cool stone, smoke curling around you, whispers of other dreamers filling the chamber, and waiting, heart pounding, for the god to visit you in the theater of your own mind. The mindfulness and intention alone were sure to create transformative thoughts, not to mention the scents and sounds employed to guide the pilgrim into sleep and their own prescribed dream world. And today, modern sleep science tells us the Greeks had stumbled upon something profound: dream incubation. They learned that if you set an intention, repeat cues, and prime the senses, the brain carries those cues into REM. In other words, the temple taught people to speak the subconscious's language. Farther along the Nile, the ancient Egyptians too connected with the gods at night. They treated sleep as a chamber for divinity. They filled bedrooms with lotus oil or burned kefi incense, a blend of wine, honey, raisins, frankincense, myrrh, and herbs, simmered into a paste so complex that modern chemists struggle to fully reconstruct it. To them, this wasn't luxury. It was precision. These scents were believed to soften the boundaries between body and spirit, to ease the passage into dreams where gods, ancestors, and visions might appear. Lotus especially was linked to rebirth and the sun, blooming each morning as the world renewed itself. Picture a chamber lit by a single flickering flame, the air heavy with the sweet, sacred smoke of kefi. A sleeper exhales, sinking into linen, the scent weaving into their memory like a thread. For the Egyptians, what rose in their dreams might not just comfort them, but also deliver wisdom or protect their ka, the vital essence of the soul. Today, neuroscience confirms that scent is one of the most powerful memory triggers. Studies show that if you smell a specific cue before sleep, and again while dreaming, the content of your dreams can shift toward calm and positivity. The Egyptians didn't know about the hippocampus or olfactory bulbs, but they knew the results: a calmer night, visions guided, and anxieties softened. Meanwhile, in Mesoamerican cultures, cacao was a cherished, powerful gift long before it became sweetened chocolate. Prepared as a dark, bitter drink, often mixed with chili or maize, it was consumed as a ceremony before sleep or spiritual rites. The Maya and Aztec believed cacao opened the heart, connecting the dreamer to ancestors and to realms beyond waking life. Drinking it was not indulgence, but initiation. Imagine a clay cup warmed by your hands, the bitter taste spreading across your tongue, a fire snapping close by. The dreamer reclines on a reed mat, the drink still pulsing in their veins as they close their eyes. Through cacao, they believed the soul could slip easier into liminal space, a bridge to the gods. And again, modern science suggests they were onto something. Cacao contains theobromine, a stimulant milder than caffeine, but capable of increasing heart rate and blood flow. It also boosts serotonin, priming the mind for vivid imagery and heightened emotional tone. In other words, it can give dreams color, charge the night with intensity and restoration while in dreamland. What unites Greece, Egypt, and Mesoamerica, and countless other cultures, is this: dreams weren't passive, they were cultivated. Rituals of scent, taste, fasting, and prayer were ways of planting seeds in the mind's soil before sleep. Neuroscience agrees. Repeat a cue, be it a phrase, a visualization, or even a fragrance before sleep, and your brain integrates it into dream content. Whisper a prayer often enough, and it becomes a voice inside your dream. Sip a drink in ritual, and its rhythm carries into the imagery of REM. For our ancestors, these rituals weren't superstition. They were technologies of the soul, keys that opened the subconscious to healing, prophecy, or simple comfort in the face of the unknowable night. So what about us, here in today's modern world? We may not pour wine to the household gods or leave coca at the mountain's edge, but the need, the longing for a conscious transition into night remains. Rituals aren't just artifacts of the past. They're living, breathing tools we can still use to steady our nights. And while few are entering Greek temples or listening for the gods to speak through dreams, the spirit of those ancient practices endures. It's about creating signals for the body, symbols for the mind, and invitations for the subconscious. First, let's begin with some common practices most know already. Journaling comes to mind. Now, I know we've talked before about journaling at night, but for many, it's still hard to separate this practice from a productivity hack and a time to rest trigger. However, it can truly be so much more. In the way an Andean herder placed coca leaves before Pachamama, you place your words before sleep, writing down stray worries, recording a dream fragment, or sketching a single symbol becomes your modern practice of release. Journaling at night is less a diary and more a ritual offering. I like to think of the words spilled onto a nighttime page like leaves cast into a river, carrying your burdens away so you don't bring them into dream. And there's research to back it. Studies show that journaling before bed lowers pre-sleep cognitive arousal. In plain terms, it quiets the racing mind. It's your way of telling the night, I've spoken. Now I'm ready to listen. Another is simple flame gazing, a soft focus on the flicker of a candle, for example, which perfectly mimics the ancient firelight effect. Flame gazing and incense echo firelit nights across every culture. But there's more. In China, herbal steam bowls infused with mugwort or lavender cleared both lungs and spirit. In the Americas, cedar smoke purified and blessed the sleeper. You might mirror this with a steaming bowl of chamomile or lavender, pausing to breathe in the rising mist. Just a minute of inhaling scented steam becomes a small, potent act of clearing. The body softens. The mind unclenches. The day is done. Both practices reduce screen exposure, ground the nervous system, and set a rhythmic cue for sleep. And when you associate a scent, whether from incense, the candle, or something else with winding down, you're recreating the Egyptian's dream chamber, just with a match and a small stick of incense rather than a full temple visit. And then there is the practice of warm tea at night. This remains one of the simplest rituals to try. Herbal teas carry forward the ancient practice of ingesting something symbolic before sleep. Chamomile, valerian, or passion flower are the echoes of cacao or kifi, plant medicine woven into ritual. But the power isn't only chemical, it's the ritual. Heating the water, steeping the leaves, holding the warm cup. That act alone tells the nervous system, we're shifting state now. Adding herbs that produce scented steam makes the ritual both ingestion and inhalation, doubling its reach into body and psyche. But let's add some fresh practices, ones that feel less obvious, and yet deeply aligned with the ancient spirit. First, digital dimming. Just as temples dimmed their light with oil lamps, we can treat our screens as something sacred to step away from. One modern practice is the digital dimming hour, setting devices aside, dimming the lights, and shifting to analog space. It's not about banning technology, but about treating the transition into night as intentional. Think of it as a daily threshold crossing, like stepping from the village into the temple. Or try evening bathing. In Scandinavia, plunging into icy lakes and then retreating to a sauna was more than health practice. It was a rhythm, hot and cold, contraction and release. In Japan, the onsen isn't just cleansing, it's a reset. In Rome, thermae baths were sacred spaces of transition. We can mirror that with something simpler, a warm shower before bed. Science tells us the drop in core temperature after warmth accelerates sleep onset. But framed ritually, it's more than a shower. It's a symbolic shedding of the day. Let your shower or bath serve the same role as they did in Scandinavia, Japan, or Rome. Let the water wash over you as if it's carrying the day away. The skin warms, then cools, naturally cueing melatonin. And when you step out, wrapped in softness, you've marked a passage. You step out lighter, cleaner, unburdened. You've told your body a new state, a time for rest, begins. Another ritual to try is sound sanctuaries. We spoke of African drumming as protective, but soundscapes can soothe too. You might create a sound sanctuary with brown noise, binaural beats, or even a curated playlist of cello and piano. Pair one track with your nightly routine, and your brain will begin to anticipate sleep when it hears those first few notes. You've made your own auditory gate into the dream world. But you can add something sharper too, a sound anchor, a single chime, a Tibetan bowl, a bell rung once each night, a ritual full stop. When the note fades, your mind learns, the page is turned, the day has ended. And finally, there's something timeless in giving physical form to your intention. So try adding a physicality to your nightly ritual. The Greeks slept with snakes nearby. The Norse trusted iron charms. We might choose a small stone, crystal, or even a keepsake placed beside the bed. Each night you touch it, breathe once deeply, and lay it down as a marker. To the rational mind, it may seem trivial, but to the subconscious, it is profound. It says, this is the moment we cross into the night. Many cultures have also used textiles to mark transitions, sacred robes, prayer shawls, blankets. You can echo this simply. Choose one item, a soft scarf, a particular blanket, even a pair of socks, that you wear only in your wind-down time. Over weeks, the physical form chosen becomes an anchor. The moment you wrap it around your shoulders or feet, your nervous system recognizes it's time to rest. 2, doorways and windows have always been liminal. Celtic and African traditions treated them as boundaries to be honored. So beyond a physical item, you can give your motions physical form. Try this. Each evening, open a window. Stand there for a breath or two, feeling the night air. Practice a cycle of 4 to 7 to 8 breathing, or perhaps box breath, steady, grounding. Then gently close the window with intention. symbolically sealing the day outside while holding safety inside. Rituals, whether ancient or modern, aren't about superstition. They're about pattern, rhythm. They're about giving your body and mind cues that it's safe, it's held, and it is time to dream. Warmth and coolness, breath and closure, soft fabric, rising smoke, a final sound. These aren't just habits, they're thresholds, and when repeated with intention, they transform ordinary evenings into sacred transitions. The truth is, night will always come. We don't control its arrival, but how we greet it. That is where the power of ritual lives. Tonight we've traveled across time and distance, from Roman hearths glowing with Lares to Andean mountains where offerings were whispered to the fire, from Japanese baths that washed the day away to African thresholds marked with song and smoke. Each culture found its own way to honor the night. Each one said, in its own language, rest is sacred. And now, here in this quiet moment, you can too. Take a slow inhale. Let it fill the space beneath your ribs. And exhale, like the waves settling on the shore. One more breath. And this time, as you release it, imagine the day gently folding shut. The conversations, the tasks, the lingering noise, all softened, all fading into the embers. Now, let me ask you to picture this. The cabin fire has faded to embers. Only a soft glow remains. The waves outside the window are steady, like the slow breathing of the earth itself. You are standing at the threshold of night. In your hands, you hold something simple. A ritual of your own choosing. Maybe it's a warm cup. Maybe it's a rising scent of steam. Maybe it's just a folded blanket held across your shoulders. Or the quiet weight of your breath. Whatever it is, it becomes your lantern, your night's guide, your invitation to cross into rest with dignity, with calm. So, I'm curious, what will your ritual be? What small act will you carry into the night? Not out of obligation, but out of reverence for yourself. A cup, a scent, a sound, a fold of fabric, a single breath. Whatever you choose, repeat it enough, and it becomes a doorway. A way of saying to your body, your mind, and your dreaming self, the day is done. I am safe. I can rest. Because the night will always come. But how how you choose to enter it. That is your ritual. It's been a privilege to guide you through another night on Dusk and Dreams. If this podcast helps you find peace, spark creativity, or simply offers a moment of captivating escape, please consider following or subscribing wherever you listen. Your support helps us build this community of night-minded souls. We're available on all major podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Amazon, as well as many others. To learn more about the show or connect with me and the Dragon's Dusk and Dreams team, visit our website at breakgrid.com or follow at Yarrow Diamond on Instagram. If tonight's journey gave you a new idea, a breath of peace, or simply a reminder that you're not alone in the dark, I'd love to hear about it. Drop a comment, share, or reach out via your preferred channel. And be sure to join me next Friday, where my alter ego, Wild Dragons, returns for a mythical night. Full moon madness, myths of the moon and the human mind. We'll wander through stories of lunacy, transformation, and lunar awe. And next Tuesday, we're going to explore sleep hygiene. Science of a better night's rest. We'll dive into sleep cycles, circadian rhythms, and the science-backed practices that improve rest, from light management to environmental tweaks. Until then, may your rituals guide you well. May your night be gentle, and your dreams all you would wish of them. Thank you again for joining me, for listening openly with heart and mind. Don't be afraid to share your thoughts after dark. Sometimes that little act of letting go of them, whether in writing or spoken out to the moon, is all it takes. And remember, the night listens back.